Welcome back to Real Repairs for Real Customers. We've got a short video today. It's vehicle specific for you car guys. It's a 2015 Tahoe door panel, and it's time to get to work. So the real problem here is that there is no support for the arm, and therefore when it caves in, it breaks these plastic rods right at the point where they're spot welded onto the back of the panel. Well, if the rods are in good shape, we can use screws to reattach them. And so what we're going to do here is gain access to the back of the panel, and we want to clean out where all of these spot welds are. We just want to take the bulk of the plastic out of the hole, and that'll give us cleaner access to those plastic rods. And so then for each one, you just need to align the dowel or that rod up with the hole and get your screw started. These screws are the number 10 hex head, 1/2 inch long, self-tapping. But I haven't heard any tapping yet. Of course, there could be other screws that work for different folks. These are the ones that I've found working for me so far. If you found a better size, then feel free to include that in the comments. Okay, so that's the last one, getting this armrest attached back to the door panel. And you see that makes a nice fit. The only problem is there's still no support at all underneath this arm. None at all. Now feel free to use whatever material you want to use here. My objective in using the hot glue is just to reattach the foam. There is a layer of foam there for the arm, and it is split out, of course, as well. So I just want to put some hot glue in there, let it soak into the foam a little bit, and reattach that to the door panel so it stays in place. Okay, so that gets everything attached back together. A little glue here in the foam, and don't take this one too seriously, but I took a piece of the broken plastic, and I'm just putting it in here for a spacer. So that'll just help to hold the additional support I'm putting in. Now I have a whole stack of wooden supports that I use as handles on the other GM door panels. And so I'm just grabbing one out of the pile, and I'm putting it in here underneath that little plastic lip right there. And therefore that'll hold that, because you can figure when you turn the door panel right side up, any pressure will be on that wood, and it'll be resting right on that little lip of plastic, so it can't go anywhere. So we've got hot glue in there to bond our support stick, and that slides right under there. It'll snap right under that plastic lip. A little more glue on this end. Then we'll just hold it in place until it cools a bit. Now here's a trick I've been using on these door panels, and also the older Ford Explorer door panels. You know, the ones that broke out on the fake stitching all the time. So you can stitch those Explorers back together using the existing holes. And there's still a void underneath that armrest. So in order to keep that armrest from flexing, you can pump this foam insulation into that void. It just works like a charm. And so here I'm just filling it in everywhere. It'll expand, of course, but I just want to make sure I get it in every crevice so it fits really tight. And we just have to allow some time for that to cure. It'll be a couple of hours. And so what you'll find is after a couple of hours, with it being this thick, it's probably going to still be gooey on the inside. That's going to make a little bit of a mess. But I want to just cut it off anyway at this point. Kind of messes up the knife. It makes it a little bit more difficult to trim. But nonetheless, I think if you get the excess off of there, that helps the rest of it to finish curing out. Kind of speeds up the finish cure process. Otherwise, you might have to wait another whole day. So just get this much off of there. Be careful not to get too gooey. I cut out the parts where I'm totally in the way of the camera. So I just trimmed that so we're not having any interference with anything else when we reattach the panel to the door. What you will have to do after this is to pull the blades out of your tool there and clean them up with some acetone. And now we get to hide all that mess. No one will ever know. If you have never used the spray foam, then you can't even imagine the amount of support that foam gives this armrest. If you've done any repairs at all with the armrest, they will stay now because everything is supported. It all feels wonderfully new and solid. And you might get a sense here how that we haven't added any weight to the door, but we've added a lot of strength to that armrest. I do like the way the cable and the assembly is engineered here to put back together. It goes back together really nicely. I'm fiddling with it more than I should. It's actually quite straightforward. Just a matter of getting things lined up correctly while you're holding the door panel steady, or trying to. So even though the weather stripping comes off with the door panel, it's better to remove it and attach it to the door first. Then you can slip the clip under the weather stripping and over the little area of metal where that clip is supposed to reside. There's a little part of the door panel that pokes out where you can hang that clip. Right there. And that makes everything so easy. They're using the same kind of wire harness connector that's under the hood, so that's really handy. It ensures a good fitment for the pins in there. So just making sure that the rod for the door lock comes up through the panel, and then reach in or look in and make sure that that rod is within its little guide so it doesn't bind later. And it's good to check it now. Then we're on to lining up the clips as usual. Now when we get to the bottom of this door, there are 2 screws. If I remember correctly, those screws use an 8mm socket. And to finish up, there are 2 screws in the armrest and a plastic cap that goes over those, and then there's going to be one more screw near the door pull, and of course the plastic cap that goes over that. Same as standard door panels. Nothing special. So these panels are really about the easiest ones you could ever hope to repair. Of course, you don't have to do everything exactly as I did it, but I really would strongly suggest you try the spray foam one time. You'll get just one use out of the can, but it'll be well worth it. And then make sure everything works and you're done.